This video is made possible by Max at Naperville Cadillac. Naperville Cadillac offers no BS pricing, meaning what you see is what you pay. No hidden fees, the way car buying should be. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2004 Cadillac XLR. Up front is a 4.6 liter V8, and down below is a 5-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here XLR because I've wanted to film one of these for a very long time. I think these cars are kind of obnoxious and crazy and weird, and I'm excited to share that with you guys today. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers like this retro sticker pack or big friggin' bottle sticker, both with free shipping. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you can read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 4.6 liter V8 under the hood. Well, it makes 320 horsepower, which isn't any slouch. However, it is a North Star V8. North Star was an engine family from Cadillac, and they're not famed about their reliability. Now, later engines were more reliable than the early North Stars, but still, the North Star name just kind of lives in that shadow of unreliability. Of course, people have had good luck with their North Stars, but those people are few and far between. Personally, I think this should have gotten an LS engine. It was actually built in the same factory that the Corvette was built in. We'll talk about that more later on, but it should have gotten an LS, and yet we're stuck here with the 4.6 liter North Star. Like I said, bear to it, 5-speed automatic transmission. There was no manual option. Not in love with it, not hating it. It's just kind of there. But last but not least, it is rear wheel drive. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, the interior was actually Italian design, and that's notable on the gauge cluster. It actually says the Italian company that designed it. However, I have no hope of pronouncing it. Blavacari? I don't know. But speaking of the gauge cluster, on the left I have my coolant temperature and oil pressure. Then I have my tachometer and speedometer, and on the right I have my battery voltage and fuel, as well as my little odometer and my information. I can switch down below that. GM is always really good about giving you cool information, even when they don't have giant screens in their cluster. They've been doing this since the late 90s. Speaking of information, I do get a heads-up display, which is unique and almost directly pulled from the C5 Corvette. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have voice commands, source, and gap for the cruise control. And then off to the right, I have my volume and 1 through 6. Kind of interesting. Nothing around the back, and I do get this little wood up at the top of the wheel. On the door, I have my lock and unlock, a vent that is aimed right at my kneecap, and then I have my power windows and power mirror adjustments. Moving into the center, I have 2 climate control vents and a hazard switch, and then I have the infotainment system. This is a very dated infotainment system, but you have to remember this is 2004. And so it does actually have built-in navigation, as well as it is touchscreen, which was kind of ahead of its time and a nice feature for 04. So not the end of the world. And I do get a CD player down below. Then I have my climate controls. I do have dual zone climate, as well as automatic climate and heated seats, anything you'd really want in a more modern vehicle. Moving on to the center console, off to the left I have the shifter. Something interesting about the shifter is that it actually has these lights that correspond with what gear it's in, as well as when you plus minus it gets 2 additional lights. This is very, very interesting. Haven't really seen this in many cars. Off to the right, I do have a 12-volt outlet / cigarette lighter, and then we do have cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Cadillac XLR, and of course, to be expected, these cup holders are minuscule and they do not pass the big friggin' bottle test. Then I do have some interesting buttons. Traction control off to the left, and then my power roof option. So you're seeing a video here of the power roof operation. It is a hard top convertible, which is fantastic. And actually, I got in the car this morning ready to film this review, and I was looking around the interior and I had to ask Max at the Cadillac dealer, are you sure this is a convertible? The headliner feels great. This feels like a big coupe, and yet at a push of a button, you can open up the roof. That is hands down one of the best, if not the best feature of the Cadillac XLR, is that power folding hardtop roof. I absolutely love it. But coming back inside, we do have a giant center console with a 12-volt outlet in there, as well as I do have some storage, but behind me, there's this little looking glass type thing. This is actually a backup sensor. So as you back up, more and more dots will illuminate the closer you get to a wall or object you might be backing into. This is great in theory, however, the position of it is nearly terrible. I can't see it in my rear view mirror, so it's not meant for that. And if I do look over my shoulder at the dots, I don't get much of a view out the back at all. It's kind of unsafe and unnecessary. However, I guess it does have rudimentary backup sensors. Moving on, we do have the seats. The seats are nice and comfortable. They are power, memory, and heated, like I stated, with the climate controls. Anything you want out of a luxury coupe seat, this XLR has. We don't have back seats, however, we will hop around the back and we'll talk about the trunk. All right, so we're on the back of the Cadillac XLR. This is the first time that I'm opening the trunk. I'm always curious with power tops, especially a hard top, how much trunk space is going to be left. Key fob, power tailgate, power trunk. Look at, I didn't realize the actual trunk was coming up when it does the mechanism. Look at how high this trunk goes. So obviously, once we are in here, hardtop kind of takes up a lot of that space, if not all the space. It goes back maybe 1.5 feet. That's about it. So terrible trunk space. However, kind of cool. I don't know, kind of cool. Now we got to talk about the looks, and I do think that this is a big selling point of the XLR. Yes, this rides on a Corvette chassis, however, doesn't look like a clone of the Corvette, of which GM is known for doing, just slapping a different badge onto something. So I'm very happy to report that it is different. However, let's start getting to my final thoughts on the XLR. Let me put my reviewer's cap on. Like I said, this is built in the same factory as the Corvette down in Bowling Green, Kentucky. This was the first Cadillac offered with radar cruise. This was the first Cadillac offered with heated and cooled seats, and was one of the first vehicles to get the magnetic ride suspension. However, none of that matters if the buyer feels like they're getting duped. I talked about this with the Cadillac Cimarron of the late 80s. That car didn't sell well because it was a pretty blatant rebadge of the Cavalier. Yes, there were changes, but not enough in the people's public eye, so that car was pretty relatively hated. And yet again, Cadillac didn't learn from their mistakes with the late 80s Cadillac Elante, another luxury convertible like this car with Italian-inspired design, and the Elantes were actually assembled in Italy and sent here for their engines, and that car flopped as well. And there's good reason. Let's take a quick look at some of the numbers. Brand new, this car sold for $75,000. Which in today's money is about $120,000. It made 30 less horsepower than the outgoing C5 and made 80 less horsepower than the new C6 that debuted in 2005. And not to mention, a base C6 Corvette went for $44,000, where this went for $75,000. So for almost twice the money, you get a smaller, less reliable, less powerful engine than the Corvette. Things aren't looking good for the XLR, and they only made about 15,000 of these. So finding one these days is actually quite rare. And so as a reviewer, this car is laughable. It flopped. It failed. It could have been something fantastic with the C6 Corvette drivetrain. If this had 400 horsepower out of a reliable LS engine, this really could have been something. Cadillac projected that they would sell between 5,000 and 7,000 XLRs a year, but the closest they got was in 2006. They sold 3,700, a full 1,300 fewer than the bottom end of their projection. If that's not a flop, I don't know what is. And so unfortunately, Cadillac never learned from the mistake that was the Elante, and they tried it again in the 2000s. And just like deja vu, they had to learn the same unfortunate, expensive lesson. Now those are all valid points, and as a reviewer, I quite frankly hate this car. However, as a person, I kind of actually like it. You know, there's that meme online asking if Gordon Ramsay ever just says screw it and microwaves a hot dog. Well, this is my microwave hot dog. The interior rattles like it was built by a 5-year-old. The power leaves a lot to be desired, and honestly, the North Star leaves a lot to be desired. This could have been a fantastic Corvette cousin with a fire-breathing LS and a manual transmission, but all the luxury features of a Cadillac, and it straight up isn't. And yet I still kind of found myself giggling and enjoying driving it. The hardtop was the biggest selling point. I think that is absolutely fantastic. The way it feels like a hardtop coupe when it's not in convertible mode, I absolutely love that. I found myself giggling and enjoying this car a lot more than I thought, and quite frankly, a lot more than I should. When people ask me what cars I like when I know I shouldn't, this one. Everything on paper leads me to believe that this is an awful, awful car. But as far as I'm concerned, behind the wheel, it's fine. It's all right. I wanted to hate you. I really, really wanted to. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Max from Cadillac of Naperville. If you guys want to buy this XLR or any other Cadillac or any other luxury vehicle, they have a ton of luxury vehicles on the lot, which is fantastic. Please contact Max with the information down in the description below. He's absolutely awesome, very, very knowledgeable about these vehicles, and he will get you into the right car. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.